Good morning and welcome back to the channel. My name is Annette and I'm sewing in Michigan. I am wearing a me-made blouse this morning. This blouse is made from the bodice block that I traced and adapted from the pansy dress pattern from Rosery Apparel. So I basically lengthened the bodice and made a few other minor adjustments and made this blouse out of a kind of a heavy polyester material. And I really urge those of you who avoid polyester to consider its benefits and uses. Maybe go to a fabric store and feel some of the apparel fabrics that are 100% polyester, because I love this one. It drapes beautifully. It's thick enough and stable enough that it was easy to sew. It's comfortable. It's a nice blouse for the cooler weather because it does keep me warm. I made the sleeves kind of a 3/4 length with an elastic casing that is slightly above the bottom of the cuff, so it does give this kind of little ruffled effect. And it has a bias bound neck that I made with self bias binding and a little button and loop at the back. Other than that, it just slips on over the head, and it's really pretty, and I always get a lot of compliments on it. Now, in the picture, it looks a little more like orange, but it's really a very bright, deep blood red, and I love wearing red. It's one of my favorite colors, so this is one of my favorite blouses. I have made others from this same pattern. I intend to keep making others from this pattern. As I've said before, you don't need a lot of patterns. If you have one that really works for you and you really like it, just make it over and over again, as far as I'm concerned. So some of the blouses you might see me wearing in the future are very similar to this, except they're made out of different fabrics. I'm currently working on another one that has the neck opening in the front, but otherwise is pretty much made from the same pattern and idea, and I'm trying to get that one finished for Sunday because I'm going to be the reader at church and I'd like to wear my new blouse for that if I'm going to be standing up in front of everybody. So the old tried and trues can be very comforting to make. If you want to make something that you know is going to look good on you and you know is going to be an easy pattern, then just go for one of your old standbys. Here are my most recent makes. I've been sewing again for little dresses for Africa. I've told you about this organization before. They are a charitable organization and they're reputable. Go ahead and look them up online if you're interested. But they take hand-sewn clothing, or they invite hand-sewn clothing to be used as part of their charitable work. Now, what they do is they go to some remote villages. They're building wells and schools and things like that, and then they distribute handmade clothing to the villagers when they're in these places. And if you look on their website, you can see some beautiful pictures and videos of these clothing distributions. Now, they invite little dresses for little girls, of course, and shorts for little boys, reusable menstrual pads for older girls and women. And I had written them and said, what about the older girls and women? Is there anything they like? And she said, oh, they love skirts. So I find it very enjoyable and very easy to make these skirts. They're made with 2-yard cuts of cotton fabric. I lay the fabric selvage to selvage, so I have 2 1-yard pieces that are 45 inches wide by 36 inches long, 1 yard long. I put in side seam pockets, and then I just hem the bottom and put an elastic casing in the top. You'll see several of these have trim around the bottom. Putting in the side seam pockets gives me an opportunity to use up some fabric pieces that are too small for a skirt. Some of these have contrasting pockets, but they're on the inside, so you don't see them. When I sew in side seam pockets, I use a 3/8 inch seam on the pocket pieces, but then a 5/8 inch seam on the side seam. So the pockets kind of sit inside of the skirt. Now I like to put trim on some of the plainer fabrics, but the skirt, the blue one on the bottom row toward the left, that looks a little shorter than the others. The reason for the rickrack on that one is because I didn't have long enough fabric and I had to piece it. So I didn't have enough to make a ruffle, but I had enough to sew another band of the fabric around the bottom. So that rickrack is hiding a seam there. All of these have a little label in the back that say handmade with love. The organization invites handmade clothing. They can't take ready-made clothing. It's not a place you would send your things that are like donations for Goodwill or something like that, because the taxes and tariff situation is a little different on ready-made clothing than it would be on handmade clothing. So they specifically request handmade clothing. But making these skirts has been a great opportunity for me to have some sewing that is just purely enjoyable, that doesn't require pattern. I can make up one of these in an evening, and every time I get 7, I box them up and send them off, because 7 is the number that fits neatly in the kind of box I have. So I will be packaging these up and mailing them out tomorrow. Look at this beautiful pile of fabrics. I have an exciting haul to share with you today. These are all 2-yard cuts that I plan on using for making skirts, and I think there are maybe 23 of them, over 20 anyway. I have purchased these over the last few weeks at Michael's and at Joann's. Now, the Joann's discount is not that large quite yet. They have a 20% off on most fabrics, 40% off on a few. So a couple of these came from the 40% off group. Most of them were 20% off. The discounts might get deeper as time goes on, but then again, things are already starting to get picked over. So I'll probably buy some more of that in future. Next week, I am going on a long road trip, and there are 2 Joann's along that route that I usually stop at. So I'll probably stop in and see what they have. But for now, I'd love to show you these. And then the other part of my Joann's haul, I got a whole bunch of patterns. I got some sewing machine needles, as you can see. These were not discounted, okay? So a lot of the merchandise at Joann's of this nature is not yet discounted. So things like zippers, bias tape, thread did not appear to be discounted, okay? And the things like needles, snaps, that kind of thing didn't seem to be discounted. I bought this pretty trim, pink and white daisies, because I like to put trim on some of the skirts when I can. And this was in their spring collection and was, I think, 40% off. But the patterns, I did buy a whole bunch of patterns, and these were heavily discounted. Now, we all know that nowadays patterns can cost $20. These were mostly like $1.99. So I stocked up on a few that I had been looking at. I may not make them right away, but I'm glad to have them. This one here, Simplicity S9740, is for knit fabrics, and it's just kind of a straight pull over the head type of dress. I saw this on Sweet Pea Sewing and thought it looked really nice, so I made sure I picked that one up. Then I got a whole bunch of dress patterns. This one has princess seams and a gored skirt, which look pretty, and it also has that raglan sleeve that I like. This is McCall's 7349, if you're interested. Comes in both a short and a longer length. This one, Butterick 6872, I thought was pretty. I like the puff sleeve and the tiered skirt. Again, I don't know how soon I would make this, but I think it's beautiful. I've noticed with butter egg patterns, I tend to have to size up a little bit. Butter egg patterns tend to run small for me. Maybe not for everybody, but let me know if you've had that experience too. This one, New Look 6651, is a shirt dress with an elasticized waist and a button up front, a totally button up front. I really thought that was pretty and I bought it. And then after that, I noticed on Sweet Pea Sewing that she had also bought the same pattern. So maybe we should do a collab on this one at some point. But I really like shirt dresses. I haven't made many of them, but I'd like to try this pattern. I think it would be flattering with the elasticized waist and the way that kind of pulls it in and gives some shape to it. Again, that's 6651. Here we have Simplicity 9678. And this one is a little different with the neckline. It has a raglan sleeve that is gathered up into the neckline. Now, I don't have anything like this, but I just thought it was interesting, and I'd like to have it in my stash to possibly make at some point in the future. I mean, the patterns were really reasonable, so why not, right? This one is Simplicity 9041, and it is a wrap dress. I don't have any wrap dresses in my wardrobe. I've never made one. I'm interested in making one. I bought the wrap dress pattern from Rosery Apparel too, I think. But I just haven't made it yet. So I'd like to try my hand at a wrap dress at some point. Then I have this New Look 6543. This is just a top, and it's easy. It's like a tank or t-shirt type top, which I thought would be nice as we're coming into the warmer months. And then I did buy one children's pattern, this cute little dress. It is New Look 6647. It's just a very simple little girl's dress, and I thought that might be nice for when I'm sewing for little dresses for Africa. Now, what I would probably do, I believe this has, let me see. Yeah, it has a zip in the back, but what I would probably do is just split that back yoke open and put bias tape on it, and then put a bias tape facing around the neck with ties at the nape of the neck, because they discourage you from using buttons or zippers on the clothes you send, because the people who receive these clothes often don't have a means to repair those. But I thought there was a cute little dress. Maybe even the sleeveless version where the bodice is different might be a good way to use up some smaller pieces of fabric that I have and make little dresses that are appropriate for the climate that they're going to. So I thought that was really cute. And it only takes, what, about a yard of fabric, really. A little more than a yard, depending on the width. And if you're making view C, which is the little sleeveless one with the contrasting yoke, you apparently only need a half a yard for the yoke and 1 yard for the skirt. So that might be a good way to use some smaller pieces of fabric. But I thought that was really cute for little summer dresses for kids. So that's all the patterns I got. Now let's move on to the fabrics. Most of these came from Michael's or Joann's. There are a couple odd ones here and there that are probably from Hobby Lobby. Now don't judge. I know a lot of people don't believe in shopping at Hobby Lobby. I don't shop there frequently, but if I need notions like zippers or buttons or bias tape, they tend to have really reasonable prices, and the Hobby Lobby here is just practically across the street from me, whereas Joann's is a big drive across town, and as we know, Joann's will no longer be available. There is another fabric store in town called Fields Fabrics that is quite large and has a lot of dressmaking fabrics, as well as quilting cottons, fleece, all the things we're used to finding at Joann's. So I imagine I'm going to be shopping there more in the future. However, they are about a half-hour drive away from me. They're way out by the airport. So It's going to be a little more difficult to get fabric once Joann closes, but I still have some good resources available in my town. I've also found that Michael's fabric, if you buy it online, it's very easy to get. It comes in a couple of days. The quilting cottons like these are, a lot of them are $4.99 or $3.99 a yard, so the prices are really, really good, and it gets delivered quickly. If you go into the Michael's store, the one near me only has one aisle of fabric, and you have to call someone to come cut it for you. They have a tiny cutting table nearby, and it has a button on it that you can press to summon a store clerk, and they will cut it for you. But they don't have a huge variety. But again, the prices are really good. So making these skirts for little dresses for Africa and the little dresses as well gives me an opportunity to sew with fabrics I might not normally use in my own dressmaking, because I love the beautiful quilting cottons, but sometimes the texture or drape of the fabric is not appropriate for the kind of clothes I want to make. And also, it might not be work appropriate. Some of them might be kind of loud prints or whatever, but I love them. I love sewing with them. So this is a fun way for me to get a chance to sew with these kind of fabrics. So without further ado, let us look at some of these. This one is a pretty black and white daisy print, cotton. They're all cotton. This one, bright circles, right? Just something fun and bright. I like that. This one, a beautiful purplish blue with a kind of stripe running through it and a floral pattern. Very pretty. Here is a blue and white version of the black and white I showed you a second ago. Nice daisy print. This one is blue with white stars on it. This one is a green background with some pink, and it's succulents. Very pretty. Here we have a beautiful animal print, and you know, I normally would not wear animal print myself, but it's going to be fun to sew with and make a skirt out of that. Now I have two 1 yard cuts here. I remember I got this at Joann's. There wasn't enough on the bolt to give me a continuous 2 yard piece, but I cut it in half anyway. So I make my skirts from two 1 yard pieces, one for the front, one from the back. So when the girl opened up the bolt and she had like 1.5 yards, and then she had another 1.25 yards or something on the two pieces that were on the bolt, I said, can I possibly get two 1 yard cuts? And she said yes. So she had to remnant the rest of it, but I didn't want to have to make a seam or whatever. But that's pretty. It has this beautiful kind of almost a gold toned background on it. So I'm looking forward to sewing with that. This one, oh, so cute. Frogs. Again, this is one that I would never wear myself, but it's going to be fun to sew with, and I'm really looking forward to it. Next up, we have green with daisies. And the daisies are white with kind of an orange center, kind of different, pretty. And then I have this ditzy print that has a kind of a brown background and orange and kind of bluish flowers on it. Very pretty. This is the kind of color that I don't wear very well. Beige colors don't really look that good on me, but it's such a pretty print that I'm excited that I get to sew with it. So let's go on to the next pile here. Are you ready? Next pile, we have, trying to pick it up. We have this beautiful blue with, it's kind of almost a denim blue with pink roses and leaves on it. We have this one I know came from Michael's. We have this pink and orange kind of mosaic print. Again, something I wouldn't wear, but is really appealing to me. I'm drawn to it, even though it wouldn't be something I would probably use. This one, oh my goodness, pink flamingos. Yes, I just had to have it. I thought it was so much fun. Here we have kind of peachy, mauve roses. So they're not bright red or bright pink. They're kind of almost a terracotta pink color. I like that. Next we have a ditzy print that is black background with white flowers and little yellow bees. Let me move this. Little yellow bees. Very cute. Some little hearts you can see here. So I thought that was pretty. Next we have a very busy print that has tropical birds. And it is a navy background with pinks and greens on it, and the occasional bird. Kind of have to look for them because the print is so busy. Next I have, I think this one came from Michael's too, this gray background with flowers of muted colors on it. This one I think is especially beautiful. Black background with white and blue and green floral print. It's unusual. Hang in there, guys. We're getting down to the last 5 or so. These I got at Joann's the other day. This one's kind of wrinkled, but it is a kind of lightweight cotton that is a denim blue, a light denim blue color, with these beautiful flowers on it. Next up, I have this bright blue that has flowers in lighter blue and kind of a gray blue color on it. Very pretty color combination. Quite unusual. Now, these I believe were 40% off, not 20% off, because they're considered seasonal or holiday prints. So I'll show you these two at the same time. These two florals, I believe, were from and the third one. I've got 3 left. Let me show all 3. Okay, there we go. These were all on in the seasonal section, and they were all in the autumn, like the fall Thanksgiving type collection. So these were 40% off. Many of the others were 20, but these were 40. So if you're looking for holiday themed fabrics, you might want to check things out. Thank you so very much for joining me today. I wish you a wonderful afternoon. I have 2 works in process that I hope to show you next time. Until then, be well. Bye-bye.